Hello and welcome. My name is Chris Cann with Mining Journal, and with me I have Morgan Bazilian, Director of the Payne Institute and Professor of Public Policy with the Colorado School of Mines. In the first interview of two we're doing with Morgan, we're going to look at the Saudis' emergence as a potential mineral supplier of global significance. Hi, Morgan. Welcome.
Terrific. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. Looking at Saudi Arabia, a lot of news coming out, particularly in the past 12 months, about the country and about its relevance in the region. How important is Saudi's emergence as a potential major supplier of metals, given the forecasts that we're also seeing at the same time around supply deficits on a global scale?
Yeah, look, I think the Saudi Arabian entry into as a major global force in mining and processing of all kinds of metals and minerals, including those that we call critical minerals for energy transitions, is significant. Just a couple days ago, so on May 20th, the G7 nations and their leaders communique from Hiroshima mentioned critical minerals 10 times. And I believe that's without precedent. So we're seeing on the global scene a recognition that there's a need for these critical minerals to provide for modern economies going forward. Now, Saudi Arabia, as one of the largest oil producers in the world, I believe right now second largest oil producer in the world to the United States, knows how to take on these sort of long-term, difficult engineering tasks with aplomb, and so their goal to have mining be a second, third, fourth pillar of their economy is really important, and it's more than just signaling. So the Future Metals Forum that they've created, that's now had 2 iterations, was an important event on the mining calendar globally, and I think will only increase in importance. And the advent of funds to invest outside of Saudi Arabia, as well as taking on a geological survey domestically within Saudi Arabia to inform mining, along with streamlined, as I understand it, permitting, all make for a significant and impressive foray into the sector.
You mentioned intent there, Morgan. What do you see as the hurdles or the major challenges that the Saudi regime is going to face as it looks to execute on this intent, and some of the skill sets that are existing that you've already mentioned?
Yeah, so at least 2 things. So there's certainly a challenge around workforce development. When you ramp up demand and execution of mining as is envisaged in the country, as well as the training needed to invest externally, there's going to have to be a significant focus on training and workforce development, and I think they've already started down that road. Certainly, we at the Colorado School of Mines have a long relationship with Aramco, the national oil company, and that's mostly around workforce development training from the undergraduate all the way through to doctoral level. So that piece, they understand, they know there's a gap there, and are working to fill it. Now, it's not easy to do that in a short time frame, and so I think one of the things it seems like they're looking at is precedent from other big mining economies, namely Australia, Canada, South Africa, that have long histories in mining and sustainable mining. So I think there'll be a lot to draw on from those precedents, and that's exactly the way to go if you're going to start something new. And the ability of the kingdom to make large investments is not insignificant. And so by starting the new fund, the new mining fund, with the express goal of diversifying the economy, strikes me that they're on the right track. The amount of funding that goes into that fund is obviously going to have to ramp up significantly. They're talking about initial fund of about $15 billion for capital investment, not a small amount. I imagine that will grow as their, as the country becomes what certainly looks like to become a mining, serious mining country.
Okay, and just finally, Morgan, before we let you go for this first part, what should Saudi Arabia be prioritising in building some of the supporting infrastructure and industries around mining that you've alluded to there? I think you look at mining versus petroleum. It's a lot more integrated kind of industry that needs a lot more services. Where should they be starting?
Yeah, I think that they're going to have the same issues as almost any other country in the mining sector. So one of them is workforce development. We've touched on that. The second is making sure that the mining is not done with a decades-old mindset. In other words, you're using cutting-edge technology, sustainable mining, and I think that's why looking at places, especially like Australia and Canada, is very powerful as precedent towards using the best technology. And the third thing that a lot of countries are facing, including here in the United States, is issues around permitting reform. And it sounds like they have a big focus. The kingdom has a big focus on ensuring that the permitting process, the permitting laws, matches not only the deposits and the various types of mining that will need to be done, but also is being done at an early stage. In other words, they're doing it as one of all those things together at the early stages. So, that strikes me as the way to set up for success, and hopefully they'll continue to focus in this area and ensure the sector's sustainability, both environmentally, socially, and fiscally.
Morgan, that's all we've got time for. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll pick this up, particularly that point around that skills development piece in our second interview.
Terrific. Looking forward to it.